This is Pro Series Off Topic.
Welcome back to Pro Series Off Topic. This is episode 59, and today is going to be about consistency on social media. I know I've talked about it a lot, but I'm just kind of bringing a different perspective. I was on a podcast yesterday, but it will be coming out the 14th, but we kind of talked about it a little bit in my segment that I was on and thought it would be a cool part of Off Topic today. But if you did not see the main Pro Series episode that came out this week, it was episode 141 with Paul Neal. It was all about unlocking commercial real estate, meaning he helps people get away from renting. So if you're a business owner and you're renting a showroom, renting a space for your office or whatever you're doing, he coaches clients who are trying to get out of that. And he gives us a really cool example, and I'll share it here. I'm going to butcher it, so definitely go back and watch episode 41 with Paul Neal that came out this past Thursday. But he talks about how this client is building a steel building for his, I think it was a construction company, it was a renovation company. And there's 3 spaces. He's taken up one, and then he has 2 other spaces that he's allowing 2 tenants to come rent it out, which helps him pay for the mortgage of this building. And he has his own growth plan built into this move and this build. So once he starts to grow his renovation business, he'll kick out that next that next space where he is the tenant of, and kick them out so he could use that space, and then in the long run kick out the other tenant. So it allows for him to have his mortgage being paid for by someone else from this building that he's building, but he's also allowing his company to grow. A lot of times companies do this and they're renting, so they have to keep moving every single time they grow, and they're not investing in the long run of their company. So it was a really cool concept that I've never really talked about. I think going into the podcast, which I talk about in the podcast, I thought commercial real estate is kind of a dying thing right now. You know, we hear these restaurants that are closing, like we talked about Red Lobster on the podcast, Bed Bath & Beyond. They're closing so many stores. There's not a lot of brick and mortar anymore. And he kind of talks about it in a different situation. It's not skyscrapers or office buildings he's talking about. He's talking about more of like the commercial side of it, where, you know, lawn companies that like have to store their machinery, or, you know, trucking companies that to store their trucks, stuff like that. It's not stuff that is in a very big suburb or a city that you're renting out of a commercial space. It's kind of like in the middle of a rural area. So we talk about that. It's a really cool episode. So if you have not gone and saw episode 141 with Paul Neal, it's called Unlocking Wealth in Commercial Real Estate Insights with Paul Neal. You could watch that on YouTube, Spotify, or listen to that on any podcast form that you listen to. Make sure you like, subscribe, and review the podcast. It really helps the success of the podcast. And yeah, let's get into the main topic this week. I'm talking about consistency on social media. I think a lot of people I talk with that are starting a business or they have a business, they struggle with consistently posting on social media. And they say to me, well, you know, I'm very bad at posting on social media. It takes a different side of your brain to think about, hey, I should take a picture of this to post it. Or it's also you're struggling with the fact that you only want to post that pretty picture, like into your design, that, you know, people only want to post the finished result, but you're missing all that stuff along the way. And something that I have done to myself, because I have fallen into this rabbit hole of not remembering to post or not staying consistent with it. And consistency is my biggest thing when it comes to really anything in life. That's how you develop the habit. And it's kind of like, you know, exercising or any other type of hobby you're doing. You have to stay consistent with it to keep up with it. And something that I do, I'm a very organized person when it comes to work and everything. And if you head over to my social media at Eric Dillman Designs, I have it organized in a way that I do 4 posts a week. And it's not just for any type of 4 posts a week. 3 out of the 4 posts always look the same, and then that third post of the week is always something different. And that's kind of my OCD kind of going into play. And I know that I'm kind of banking off of my OCD in this way, that I am thinking, well, if I miss a day, it screws up my whole entire feed. And in the beginning, I would stress over that because I did that to myself, and I did that on purpose so I could stay consistent. But now it's just so easy because it's just an every week routine for me. So on Mondays, I post motivational Monday quotes. It's like that black with the white font. And then Wednesdays, I usually post a reel for the podcast, the Pro Series podcast, the main page. And it usually has a picture of the guest, the number of the podcast, and just the podcast cover art. And that looks the same when it comes to the cover art. So every week it's a little bit different with the name of the podcast guest and then the picture of the podcast guest. And then Fridays or Thursdays, I usually post whatever I want. So I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into posting something every week that my feed looks exactly the same. So I'm posting something that went on that week, something, maybe an event that I went to, or something to do with design, or something else that I like. So that I leave that for Thursday and Friday. Saturday, Sunday, I post my episode of this. So it's a real snippet of the best part of the off topic, in my opinion. It just, when you look at the page, it looks organized. And I did that on purpose because I'm very OCD when it comes to my social media and my organization, just in general. So if I miss a day, it's going to ruin that consistency. So I'm kind of taking that OCD that I have and kind of putting it in a good use so it keeps me consistent with social media. So you really just have to figure out a way that works for you. In the beginning, I would take every Sunday and just plan out the whole entire week, kind of make my content calendar for that week. You know, there's a lot of companies that do content calendars for a whole entire month. I don't know how that's possible because tomorrow could be a completely different day. Something else could happen that you really need to post pretty fast for, maybe it was an event that you went to. You need to thank the people that you went to, whatever it is. I just don't know how you do a whole month ahead of time. A week is actually kind of pushing it because you don't know if you're planning on Sunday. Sometimes that Friday post doesn't happen because you went to an event or something came up that you need to post something. So content calendars really help out, especially in the very, very beginning. Again, I know I talked about this last week and I've talked about it many times. Canva is great for that. Make a content calendar, stick to it. There's also, if you go on Amazon, there's content calendars written out. So if you are more of a written calendar type of person, go buy one of those and plan out your content that way. It's the easiest and best way to do it. Batch create content. So something that I do, that motivational Monday type of post. If you do something like that, batch them together. Make a bunch of posts at once. So for, a quote unquote a rainy day, you have something in your back pocket to post. And, before you even did this, you kind of set a goal. So I do 4 a week. I always say you need to at least do 3 posts a week if you're running a business. And if the bigger that you get, you should be doing it 5 days a week or 7 days a week. 7 days a week's absolutely a lot. I think you should at least have some days off on social media, but 5 is probably the best number. During the work week, post every single day. Keep your story live 24/7. That seems hard, but it's actually really easy. Just repost something that you have. Use scheduling tools. If you are someone that really just forgets the post, Instagram, Meta in general has scheduling options for you. So you can make a post on Sunday, make 4 or the 5 posts that you do during the week. Go on Meta business account, and I think it's the Business Center, and you could schedule the posts to go out throughout the week. So you don't have to worry about it. Just work and just go on. I mean, you definitely should go on and do engagement posts and stuff and talk to your followers. But if you are struggling with time, just be able to bulk schedule. It's the easiest thing to do. Gets you into that routine. And then content themes, kind of like what I said with Motivational Monday or Tutorial Tuesday. Figure out something that you'd like and you're passionate about and something that you could do every single week. The last thing you want to do is you want to do these Tutorial Tuesdays about something in design, and you're good for the first month, and then you're on that 5th post and you're like, and I don't even know what to do anymore. That's not where you want to do it. So I know Motivational Monday, I save quotes like crazy, so I knew that would be super, super easy. And it's a super easy post to do that honestly sometimes gets better traction and more engagement than most of my posts. So find something like that that is easy to do. Maybe it's if you're a designer going out to a showroom and a tile showroom and seeing a bunch of tile, maybe the tile of the week or materials of the week that you saw in your showroom visits of the week. Something easy like that is so beneficial for your page. Again, don't think it's a perfect picture, and that's not what this episode is going to be about picture perfect posts, but just that content theme. Think about it in the back of your head and kind of plan it out before you actually go out and you post. And then don't forget to repurpose content. Like this past week, I posted a photo that I posted back in the summer after a vacation that I went on. And I reposted a photo. It wasn't the exact same photo, it was kind of reversed and a different angle. So it wasn't the exact same photo, but it was taken at the same time. Um, People forget about what you post about a year ago, especially if you're posting 3 or 4 times a week. They can't remember every single post that you put out. So it's okay to repurpose it. I'm not saying, oh, I was on vacation last week. I had a completely different caption to it, talking about how at least 1 month a week should be a 4-day week. I think you're more motivation, you get more stuff done, you're more productive. So that was kind of what that's about. So don't be afraid to repurpose content. And if you're scared to repost the exact same photo, flip the picture or reverse it. Kind of angle it in a different way to make it look a little different for you. It's okay to repurpose content. If you go on TikTok, if you go on Instagram, these people that are millions and millions of followers, they do it all the time. It's okay. They go back and those posts that did really, really well a year ago, they'll repost it and maybe add a little to it or have a different caption to it. And it still gets that awesome engagement rate to it. And it's a great way to keep it going. And another way to do that, if you don't ever track your analytics on your Instagram account, it's easy. You just go to your insights on the actual account itself and it tells you what posts really perform the best, in what areas it performs the best. So go through that, and I'm always looking at my posts and seeing what posts do the best with comments or likes or just non-followers looking at it. So that's showing that the post is more on your for a lot of for you pages instead of just in feed posts. So that's also a good thing to look at. And I think maybe I should do an episode just on analyzing your analytics because it probably sounds like a foreign language to most people that are listening right now. But that's a huge thing to figure it out because it's like in any business, no one especially in marketing, they're not going to do a commercial or a marketing spread without the research behind it. That's what you're doing when you're looking in your insight of your analytics on your social media page, seeing what works for you. And another way to look at that is looking at it through maybe a creator or an influencer that you follow that you aspire to be, someone that you try to make your aesthetic kind of look and feel like. Look at their posts, see what performs well. You can't go in and see their analytics, unfortunately, but you can see how many likes they get or how many comments they get. And sometimes it's a drastic change in post, and just see what works for them and kind of mimic it. Don't copy them, but it's okay to use it as inspiration for a post for yourself. That's something that I need to work more towards, but I try to not be on social media as much anymore. um, and that's the whole thing about when you're doing these scheduled posts and everything. It allows you to be off of social media a little bit because it's not a good thing to be on social media. I just actually right before I started recording this, recorded a episode with an author who wrote a book about being on social media, the effects of being on social media so much. That will be coming out in a couple weeks, but it is horrible for us to be on social media this much. And I'm saying that as a creator and someone that uses social media for their business. But I think in a good way, when you're running it for your business, it's a very good tool for you to grow. Um, and then get into goals. Set realistic goals, like I've talked about a couple times ago with how I did it with the podcast, how many episodes I release a week. Figure out a good number of posts that you have you could do in a week. You don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to post 4 one week and 1 the next week, or post 0 the next week. That's not what you want. If you can only commit to 1 on your busy weeks, only do 1 for now on until you get into a routine and you're able to post 2 and then 3. And then just don't bite off more than you can chew, because it will show in your following, your engagement rate, all of that stuff. Start creating templates. Like I said, Motivational Monday, I do it every Monday. It always looks the same. It's the same template on Canva that I use every single week. Just a different quote. I just copy and paste a different quote. So start, when you're doing those content themes, start making content templates and saving them on Canva or whatever you use for content creation. It allows for simple, easy ways to get posts out fast as possible. And it also allows you to look back, and maybe you don't have a post going out that day. You could go on Canva and just easily search for that template that you already made and just make something and create and just post it out real quickly. So that's an easy, simple way. It seems so hard to some people to say, ooh, I can't remember, or I can't think of anything to post. Just literally go on social media and look at other people's account and figure out what you want to do and be different. Don't be, sometimes people are like, oh, you just posted a quote. Cool, it's just another quote. Sometimes those are the ones that get the best traction, or just a picture of a sample that you saw in a showroom. They might get the most comments on them about people's opinions on it. That's what you want. Even if it's a negative opinion, it's still it's part of your engagement rate. Part of your analytics doesn't talk about how many people, especially on Instagram, you can't dislike a post. You could get angry on a post on Facebook, but it's still part of your engagement rate. So if someone's going on there and actually physically putting a mean comment or putting the angry face as a like or whatever on your Facebook page, it still counts as 1 to your engagement rate. So they're really upping your engagement rate. So they're really doing you a favor for being mean, which is kind of a good way to think about it. Just don't comment back or like their comment. That's okay. Just ignore it. Or you could delete it if you do not want to see it. You are the owner of the account. Go ahead, delete it. But it's just an easy way to do it. And then just stay organized. That's my biggest thing. And again, that's how I keep that OCD of my social media account alive and keep it going, is because I have to have it looking a certain way. And it allows me to stay consistent. It holds myself reliable on posting every week to keep with those 4 posts to make my account look exactly the same every week. So that's all I have for that. Just stay consistent. If you need help, always reach out. But that's like the most common thing that I hear or see from people that need help with social media, that they just don't know what to do. They don't know they never even thought to bulk batch post or schedule post, or just help their future self on a Sunday night or wherever you have downtime. Just start creating posts to be ready for that next week ahead. So let's get into country music. New country music this week. First up, new single from Uncle Kracker, Beach Chair. Honestly, I'm not a fan of this at all. Uncle Kracker is coming out with some cheesier songs. And speaking of Uncle Kracker, I went through some really, really, really bad FOMO yesterday, not going to the Kenny Chesney concert. I did a podcast recording of someone else's podcast I was a guest on, which was really, really fun. I was glad I went to it. It will be out the 14th. I'll post about it, and so you know, which was really fun. But this is the first time I haven't gone to Kenny in years. Honestly, I haven't been to him every single time he comes since probably 2011. I've gone, so it's really, really hard to see Snapchats and Instagram posts of people that went. Of super, super jealous. Uncle Kracker was one of the openers with Megan Maroney, Zach Brown Band, and Kenny Chesney, of course. And I struggled yesterday, and thank God it's over, because I don't have to see any more Snapchats or anything after today. So, yeah, hope everybody that went had a great time. It was a perfect day for it, and yeah, hopefully I'll go next year or whenever he comes back. Next up, Breland came out with the single of Praise the Lord. It was a single he came out 2 or 3 years ago. He sang with, I think, Thomas Rhett at the ACM Awards in like 2022. And Praise the Lord. And he sang it on the Roadhouse movie, the new one that was on Amazon. He was in the bar. He's behind the cage singing it in the bar, and he just came out with his version of it off of that movie. So it's a great song. I don't know why it didn't get pushed to radio or how it didn't get as big as it should have, because it is a really, really good song. Breland's an amazing artist, has a great voice. Um, Hopefully this helps it. I haven't looked at the charts yet and seen if it helped it at all. It not being on country radio probably doesn't help now. Maybe he's trying to push it back to country radio, but it was a great song. Go check that one out. Next up, Logan Crosby. We talked about many times on this podcast. You Still is his new single. Decent. Not my favorite from him, but I'd probably get it like a 6 out of 10. Next up, Never Left Me by Megan Maroney. It is off the Twisters, the album, that movie that's coming out this summer. Good. It's her classic emo cowboy music that she talks about. Megan Maroney definitely has a sound, and a lot of fans love it, and she's doing great with it. It's a good song. Go check that one out. Tierra Kennedy, I've talked about many times. She was on the Beyonce album. She has a song called I Ain't a Cowgirl. She came out with it a couple months ago, I think. Great song. I think it would do great on country radio. So, again, another artist that just doesn't get the traction that she needs, but she came out with an R&B version of the song with the country version. Great. Next up, Lone Star, the band that really took over the 90s and early 2000s with, I still go and go back and listen to all their songs. Mr. Mom's one of my favorite songs. It's just such a fun song that reminds me of childhood, just because of the music video. If you could remember that cartoon music video, it was so cool. But they came out with a new single called Here Comes the Rain Again. A really cool song. Not as country as their past projects, but it seems like an old 80s song, 80s like pop song that you hear in a movie or at a wedding or something. It's a really cool song, really cool sounding song, and they sound at perfect as usual. Like they don't sound like, sometimes when these older bands come out with the music, you could tell it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't, because your voice is a muscle. It doesn't get used a lot, or you're just getting older. It's effective getting older, but they sound just as good as they did back in the day in their prime, which is crazy. I would love to see them live. But go check that one out. Kaylee Bannon, we talked about a few times here on this podcast. She is the host of the Today's Country on Apple Music. So she releases, Today's Country, if you don't know, if you're not an Apple Music user, that's the main country playlist every week that is released on Apple Music. So it's pretty much updated every week as new releases come out. It's the top, and it's the best songs of country music at that time. But there's also a podcast to it that she interviews, kind of like the cover star of it. So there's always a artist on the front cover of it, and she goes and interviews them. So she came out with a song called In Lieu of Flowers. It's a pretty good song. She's one of those artists that have become big, but not really big in the music way. She's just a good interviewer. Maybe she's a good writer. I don't know. I haven't really done a big dive into her. She had a really good song years ago called Famous. It didn't really get huge play on country radio, but it was, in my opinion, a great song. But In Lieu of Flowers is a great song. Hopefully this helps her kind of pop off. Next up, Terry Clark is coming out with an album called Take Two, a bunch of her old songs that she is putting with some new artists. This week, she came out with Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me with Lainey Wilson. It sounds great. Lainey sounds great on the album. Others that are going to be on the album are Ashley McBride, Ben Rector, Cody Johnson, Lauren Elena, Carly Pierce, Kelly Clarkson. So it's a big collaboration album, which I think has become a huge trend, not just in country music, but just in music in general. Next up, Maddie and Tay come out with Sad Girl Summer single. Maybe it needs to grow on me. I'm not a fan of it right now. I'm a fan of them, but I'm not a fan of this song. Next up, Michael Ray, Drink with Our Friends. Again, not a song that I've really liked during the first listen. Hopefully it will grow on me. Jackson Dean came out with Big Blue Sky. Again, not a song that really spoke to me. I think probably the best song of the week, single-wise, would be Noah Hicks, I don't know much about, but he came out with a song with Justin Moore called Dirt Roads Dirt. Great song. Go check out Dirt Roads Dirt. And I want to do more research on Noah Hicks because he sounds like a great artist and his voice is like perfect for country music right now. And with him with Justin Moore makes it even better. So go check that one out. And then Cassie Ashton came out with a song called I Don't Want to Dance. Not my favorite from her. Again, overall, I don't think this was a great week for country music releases. There's a lot, but nothing really setting the world on fire. Hopefully in the next couple weeks. I know Post Malone did come out with a teaser of him with a new song with Blake Shelton. It's crazy. He just released the one with Morgan Wallen, so he's really taken that social media game that so many artists have been doing, like Megan Trainor and all those, kind of teasing their music to get it more popular than it is before it even is released, which is such a genius idea. But I can't wait for that one to get out. Let's go into country media base chart. Number 5 this week, Ashley Cook with Your Place. This is like her first song ever in the top 10, first song ever in the top 5. It's going to be a number 1. It's great to see new artists kind of get up there. Number 4, Tyler Hubbard, Back Then Right Now, which was our number 1 last week. Number 3 this week, Kenny Chesney with Take Her Home. Number 2 this week, Jelly Roll with Halfway to Hell. And the new number 1 song this week from number 2 last week, Bailey Zimmerman, Where It Ends. That's all I have this week. Definitely check out the new podcast that's coming out Wednesday of the Pro Series. It's with a guy named Bob King. He wrote a book. It's all about if you're a salesperson, you are struggling with closing. We talk about closing a sale and the struggles with closing a sale, kind of some tips and tricks on how to do it. It's a great episode. Listen to it. Tell me what you think. Tell me if anything helped you or if you have tips on closing a sale. Send those over, and I'll always bring those up in the off-topic episode. So that's all I have this week. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk next week.